Back in here. Let's go ahead and just go live to South Carolina. Governor Henry McMaster announcing Lindsey Graham's replacement. Let's see how that goes.
Lindsey Graham understood the hopes, dreams, and needs of his state and delivered for his state every time. Presidents, paupers, famous or forgotten, he treated us all the same. We have seen him attack evil and injustice and embrace friendship and the common good with equal fervor and strength. Yes, we are going to miss Lindsey, but we will always remember his quickness, his laugh, and what he has done for us and the world. As he described himself, this poor boy from a little town in South Carolina. Today, under the law, it's my duty and honor to name someone to serve in the place of this irresistible man, this irreplaceable man, this extraordinary man for the remainder of his term. Lindsey took care of his little sister in years long departed. It's my honor to ask his little sister, Darlene Graham, to finish his work for him now. And by the way, Darlene, I don't know if I told you, but after we spoke on the phone in the wee hours of Sunday morning, and you agreed to serve through tears, earlier, I had wondered what you would say, and I was humbled by your quickness to see the duty that you had to serve. And I called the president afterwards, and he thought it was a great idea. And I'm sure that everyone here does as well. Darlene, little sister, come forward, please.
Thank you, Governor, and just bear with me as I try to get through this. But first, I just want to say one thing I've never heard Lindsey described as is irresistible. So, okay, we'll just start with that. But first, I would like to thank everyone who has called and reached out over the past couple of days. I can't tell you how much it's meant to me and our family. I know Lindsey was loved and respected by many, and I greatly appreciate the memories and even the funny stories that have been shared. These shared experiences, along with our faith, have gotten us through these past 2 very difficult days. Next, I want to thank the governor for selecting me to serve the remainder of Lindsey's term. It is such an honor. Lindsey has always been there for me, and now I will be there for him. My brother was the most amazing person, outstanding leader, and just a genuinely good man. He was kind and considerate and loved by his family dearly. As I think everyone would agree, Lindsey worked harder than anyone. He worked nonstop to make our state, country, and world better. He loved his family and loved serving this state and our country. He dedicated his life to our country. It is such a privilege to get to finish some of his important work, and I promise to work hard over the next several months to support the president and carry forward the efforts of my brother on behalf of the citizens of South Carolina and the United States. I know Lindsey thought the world of his staff and colleagues, and with their support, I feel confident. I think this is what Lindsey would have wanted, and I plan to honor him in this way. Now to Lindsey, I miss you more than I can even put into words, but I'm going to do this. I got it. Thank you.
That concludes this ceremony. Thank you.
Well, that was one and done. That was pretty. That's the way you do it, too, by the way. You just get to the point, make the quick speech. These folks have got a family member, in this case, his sister, Darlene, has a family member that they have to bury. They've got to go through all the mourning any of us would go through after suddenly losing somebody that's so at the center of their family, clearly based on her words. She was well spoken. I know nothing about her, and what we also don't know, we don't have an answer to the question at the moment, is would she consider taking or receiving the Republican nomination should they have some kind of snap primary? So here's the sequence. The governor gets the immediate appointment. What they did was declare the seat vacated, and then from the open seat, the governor gets to appoint for the remainder of Lindsey Graham's term, which is, of course, what they're doing with the nomination of his sister. And then they've got to quickly have some kind of primary because he had just won his own primary. He had a challenger. He'd been there in a while. A lot of Republican incumbents are being challenged, particularly in this season. But he won that handily, and now we're waiting to see what the process will be for the Republicans to pick a replacement for this longtime senator, and who will be interested in the job. Indeed, whether his sister would be interested or some of the other names that have run this particular season. Nancy Mace comes to mind, even though she finished dead last, and the folks statewide cast their decision as to how seriously they took her. She is a political animal and probably, no doubt, will have an interest in the seat. But we'll see how that drama plays out. The bigger picture here in the United States is to immediately get this seat filled, as every single vote in the United States Senate is coming down to very razor-thin margins, particularly if you're trying to get Republican legislation passed because of some weak-kneed Republicans in the Senate that just don't seem to understand what they're doing there. So that's a little political commentary on top of everything else that's been said about Lindsey Graham over the years. Look, as far as my opinion of him, I wasn't his biggest fan. I just wasn't. I think he was an opportunist and a publicity hound. But the people in South Carolina love the guy. And if I want to speak positively of him in his passing, his legacy, in my mind, the biggest thing he did that made an impression on me and the country was when he stood up for the Kavanaugh nomination. There is no doubt that Kavanaugh would not be on the Supreme Court right now. The Democrats you remember how phony that was? They manufactured fake scandals from back in his high school days to try to make him look like some kind of cad. Clearly he wasn't. It was completely contrived, and they were all going along with it. All of them. Kamala Harris was in on that. Spartacus was in on that. Very highly, thank you, AJ. I forgot to turn the camera on. Very highly tense moments. I'll never forget running to a TV as soon as the hearings were on. And of course, we had the radio show going and talked quite a bit about it. In fact, we had a beers for Kavanaugh. Remember the thing about beer came up when Kavanaugh was being nominated. They tried to make him out as an alcoholic because he liked beer in college. Like he drank beer like everybody else in college. And so we did an event down at the VFW called Beers for Kavanaugh, and a bunch of people showed up, and we all had a beer for Kavanaugh after he got the nomination. Those were intense times, and we didn't know what was coming with the rest of the country and what a U-turn this country tried to take between then and now. But Lindsey Graham gave a fiery speech in the defense of Kavanaugh and the ridiculousness of the Judiciary Committee and what had happened. And to me, that's his legacy. That's the thing where he stepped up when we needed him. The right guy got on the court. And look at the following court decisions since Kavanaugh has been on the bench. Kavanaugh has been consistent. He's more so than Amy Coney Barrett, or whatever her name is. So anyway, little ramble there on the Senator, of course, Lindsey Graham passing. Now, let me go into conspiracy town for just a minute because it's all over the internet. There are, by some reports, as many as 20 federal agents in and around the home and doing an investigation of the passing of the senator. Now, that doesn't mean anything. The FBI says it's out of an abundance of caution. They did run a toxicology screen on him. There are enemies of this country that have used techniques like this to off politicians. There is no evidence, though, of any of that right now. And the fact that when a major United States senator dies of any kind of situation, they're going to do their due diligence and check everything to make sure there wasn't something nefarious. No public official as of this hour, said anything of the sort. Anything else you're reading online right now are just pure nonsense conspiracy theories until such time as they're able to say there is something actually suspicious about his death. That a 71-year-old man, a little bit porky, probably not a fitness expert, would suddenly pass is tragic, but it happens. And it's far too close to my age that I even want to think about as you start seeing people. To me, that's young, and we'll see what else is said or about the investigation into his actual death, much less the fallout politically around the loss of the senator by the Senate and by the Republicans. Now, this whole road trip brought to you by our friends at Appalachian Foothills RV Park and Repair Center. Today we're in Rapid City, South Dakota. I never even got a chance to get into that as the hour started. I'm inside the mobile broadcast unit today because it's just too hot and windy to do an outdoor show. We had tried to, or wanted to do a little something outside today in the beauty of South Dakota, but it is the high today should be about 103 to 105 depending on where you are. This heat dome that a lot of my neighbors in the South and my fellow Alabamians were suffering through a few weeks ago. Now we've got one of those this far north in the country. In fact, it's cooler in Birmingham than it is out here in the plains and some of these western states today. And it's everywhere you go, it's all they can talk about. They've had an unusually dry season, which has caused a lot of fire danger. And another thing they're really, and you heard our friend Laura when we were in Buffalo last Friday, Buffalo, Wyoming, you heard her talking about this stuff. They didn't get enough snow up on the mountains, so that didn't give them enough snow melt downriver when all that stuff happens after the winter season, and they depend on that for their tributaries and streams and their surface water. And now you add this extreme heat out here, and there are a lot of folks concerned about conditions in this part of the world. We'll be on location tomorrow, and we got a couple of fun stops this week as well as we continue our broadcast. Appalachian Foothills RV Repair Center and RV Park, they've got a nice park over at Appalachian Foothills. These guys they're so good at what they do. Stan's been a friend a long time before they came on to sponsor, but this is a natural partnership for them being in the RV business. And a lot of what I'm doing with this summer travel is encouraging you to hook up a trailer or fifth wheel or one of these motorhomes and get on out there and see this world. It is so neat. Some of the people we come across, we ran across somebody from Auburn out here just yesterday. You see a lot of Southerners out getting in on this beautiful mountain scenery and breathing this clear mountain air and just meeting all these fine people out here, and we encourage you to do it too. If you are on the road and you've got your own rig and you need some repair work of any kind, there's ongoing service and maintenance all the time with your systems when you have one of these. AJ, do you hear a weird buzzing sound, or is that just in my ear? I think it's just in my ear here. I keep hearing something. I think it's just in my headphones.
Yeah, it's probably on your headphones on that side.
Okay, long as it's not coming across to you, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Either that or I've got a refrigerator going out because it sounds like it's.
I do hear some of that wind too.
Yeah, that's believe it or not, that is wind coming from my air conditioner straight into the microphone because I got that thing on blast, man. It is so hot outside. It's like a hairdryer in your face. It's just this dry. There was 6% humidity when we rolled in here yesterday, and the wind's probably blowing in excess of 15, 20 miles an hour. It's just like somebody blowing a hot fan right in your face all the time. And they're just dealing with that. We just happen to be here during that part of it. But, man, if y'all need repair, I've already come across some items. Every trip there's going to be something you notice, something that needs to be fixed or just serviced, and they're there to do all that stuff. Quick repairs on all the various systems on these things, all the way to just doing paint and body work. I'm telling you, I think they're probably some of their paint and body people at Appalachian Foothills are paint and body people from the factories. They originally do the paint on these things and bring those skills to Appalachian as well. So you're dealing with really, really decades of experience, and it's a little bit of a drive because they're in Winfield, but worth it to get on that there and get the best to take care of you. It's Appalachian Foothills RV. They got an RV park too, so some people want to park and hang out and wait till it's their turn or be around there during the service period, and you can absolutely do that. It's Appalachian Foothills. Y'all check them out on exit 30 off I-22. And then, of course, let me get our sponsor of the hour, regular sponsor here on the show, my man Craig at Birmingham Broker. He's actually helping me out with something personal. I've got a shipment coming in that can't be brought to my house in the next week before I get home. And Craig's going, this is just kind of guy he is. I said, who do I know that could get a drop shipment from a commercial delivery company? I called Craig, said, hey, man, or I texted him, I think, said, could you hold a package for me up there? He goes, sure, no problem. Send it. Craig's like that. And here's what else he told me. I think it was last week. I was still on vacation before we came back to air with the shows, and he reached out and very urgently and said, I need vehicles. He goes, we're out of everything. We sold everything that we had on the lot. And that's good news if you're in the market to get rid of one because you got to buy a new one, or you just have another car that needs to be sold. There are buyers everywhere right now. There's seasons that peak in that industry, and we're in the summertime when a lot of people get out and start changing their cars and buying cars and trucks. So if you've got something for sale, they can move it right now. They've got buyers on the hook. They need more inventory, maximum values right now. So get down there and get a retail check. When they sell it for you, it's a retail price, not a wholesale price, and that's very important if you're going to save money down the road. It's Birmingham Broker. They're downtown on 4th Avenue South. You roll right into the building. It's sort of a drive-in garage type building, super safe location, and they'll hop on there and work it up for you and tell you what they can, the range that they can get for you for that ride. And I think you'll love the service. Like me, once you use them and the ease of it and the money and the math, you'll use them time and time again to unload these cars, trucks, and SUVs. And don't forget this BB Moto down. It's adjacent. It's sort of a side business, but they're these electric motorcycles, not bicycles. These are motorbikes. That could be a cool Christmas thing for somebody. While you're down there, take a look at the BB Electric Moto bikes. That's a fun shop to visit anytime. Y'all, it's Craig and Keith down at Birmingham Broker, bhambroker.com, bhambroker.com. Back here in just a minute. Y'all, Alabama Gold Refinery is Steve. It's really mostly Steve. He's got a good team around him down there. But when you go to meet him, man, you got you got a straight up expert when it comes to these commodities. And it's important to know what you're getting into and to have a plan. You can start getting into gold ownership or silver or platinum or any of these metals very, very simply and straightforward and incrementally. Sometimes you're just not going to go take all of your money out of your 401k and buy gold with it. But there are times when things get weird and squirrely, and you need that kind of safety net of the tangible benefits of owning these metals. Not to mention the way they keep up with real value, the way they're always transferable, fungible, all that is very important. And it's nice to have a shop that gives fair value. It's just a good exchange because they'll sell to you, they'll buy from you, they'll trade with you. Whatever you want to bring in, work with them, build that relationship, get to know Steve. And just me personally, I like this concept of starting to teach kids about tangible value like that. So maybe you want to start with some silver coins for Christmas and let them hold them and let them keep them and keep up. And it starts to teach a lesson to those kids and grandkids in your life. Cool idea. It's, of course, Alabama Gold Refinery there on 29th Street in Homewood across from the big Regions Bank, AGR, Alabama Gold Refinery.com. All right, back to the Iran situation and whatever this presidential speech is supposed to be on Thursday night. As of this hour, the White House isn't saying anything about what they're announcing. Most people, instinct would tell you it's probably about this Iranian situation because we've completely changed our approach on the matter. We've gone back to the naval blockade of their ships. We've gone back to the bombing campaign. It seems as if this memorandum of understanding deal is off. Maybe it's going to be a repositioning in that war and a new approach that we need to know about. But all the president's team said today was President Trump will be making a speech to the nation on Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And that, of course, started quite a buzz around D.C. today, even with everything else going on. Man, we got a hot show tonight. Your calls, too. If you're ready to get in here, come on. We'll throw the calls on the air as well and continue with the breaking news and the headlines from the road in Rapid City, South Dakota. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Man, it is 3:35. Let's keep on trucking this afternoon. Tapco bringing you the show this hour. Michael down at Tapco and that whole team. Listen, man, he took care of my Jeep. I had just a couple weeks to go, trying to button up some last-minute things, and he did for me exactly what I tell you they're going to do for you. That's just be a first-class repair shop. In the old days, we called them mechanics. Nowadays, I mean, they're just service technicians because it's a lot more than the mechanics of a vehicle. Nowadays, it's all these computers and ghost in the machine stuff that's impossible for us shade tree guys to figure out. But they've got the diagnostic equipment down at Tapco to get to the bottom of it. So use them for your routine stuff. In my case, took the Jeep down there for some routine oil change and some brakes. I knew I needed, it was that time for some brake pads and whatnot. But I challenged them. I said, just if you can, go through it, find anything that might go wrong. And sure enough, they found an issue with some leaking seal bearings and all this other stuff that could have really been an issue out here with all this mountain driving, trying to make this trip happen. So get on over to Tapco. They're on 6th Avenue South down in downtown Birmingham. They'll give you a 10% off if you tell them you heard it here on the show. And if you live close enough to downtown or work close enough to downtown, they've got a courtesy vehicle specifically for folks that just want to sit in the lobby where you're getting some of this stuff done, and they'll run you to work or run you back home and take care of that situation for you and do it right. It's TAPCO. That stands for Total Automotive Performance Company. Just trying to help you remember it. And you can get them at tapcobeham.com, tapcobeham.com. This is who I trust with my rides, and we all need a good, quality, trustable service technician in our lives. It's Michael and his team down at Tapco. All right, back to this Trump speech. During the break, I was doing some cruising around to see if anything was being said about what it may be about. And of course, nowadays with internet speculation, you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. But there's at least one report tonight that it has to do, rather than with Iran, it has to do with the potential that let me just pull this back up here. Here we go. That there may be some newly discovered declassified intelligence on how the 2020 election was stolen. Obviously a passionate issue for the president, but I don't know if he would call a national meeting this far out, a national address to the nation this far out for that item, but maybe he would. So I do like the fact that we don't know, because if anything, it's giving us the upper hand and keeping the Iranians guessing. Something else changed recently, and let me just weave this other sort of speculative stuff into the storytelling about Iran. So the developments today, I can't remember if we've gone back through them this hour or not, but let's just start from the top. We're reinstituting, as of tomorrow afternoon, we're reinstituting the naval blockade of Iran. The bombardment activity has increased. I'm sure there'll be some other economic approaches. Some people believe we might use the Marine Corps to go after one of the islands in that region along the strait. What we're trying to do is keep the strait open and protected. So there have been a lot of announcements on that. It appears any of the peace negotiations are just for certain dead. Trump's come to the realization that the Iranians are not going to give up. But then there's this weird element that started popping up last week. We talked about it last week a little bit too, when Trump suddenly switched airplanes on his way back from Turkey. He had gone over in the new Air Force One with the new paint scheme, with that big giant plane, that big Boeing that was gifted by Qatar to the United States. And then suddenly he swapped planes back to one of the older models that are always kept around for backup when a president is moving around. And so immediately that started drawing alarm bells. You had New York Times reporters and others speculating that it was some kind of security threat. The Trump team's threatening to even take them to court to find out how or why they would report something like that. But then again, everything around that story seems to be mysterious. There's a lot of reporting tonight that they believe the Iranians had a plot to go after the president. They've long sought to kill the president way back to even before he became president again, as we well know. And Trump even talked about it last week. So in some ways, he gave credence to this notion that he was on some kind of hit list by talking about last week, saying he was the number one target, and so just a lot of I don't want to call it palace intrigue because that's usually gossipy stuff, but a lot of things in motion, and all of it seems to be centered around Iran. So the story, not direct reporting, but sort of speculation stuff tonight, is that the plan was for the Iranians to take Trump out in Turkey, a very vulnerable location for them, for the president, as he went to the NATO summit last week. And then we got reporting just this minute as we roll through the hour that Congress is, let me back that up. Trump has just notified Congress of a, quote, new war against Iran. Now let's break that down. A lot of you would say, aren't we already in the war? If you'll remember, the Trump team pretty much said that the shooting part was over. We'd accomplished the three things that we set out to accomplish. That was to destroy their Navy, which has happened very, very quickly, to deny them the ability to pursue their nuclear program, and to dismantle their ballistic missile program so they couldn't shoot at their neighbors. And that's not 100% complete, but it was largely done very, very quickly, within days of us going in there and first blinding them and all their crap technology that they had been sold a bill of goods with from the Chinese. But now we're hearing, and this has to be what the Thursday announcement's about, we're hearing that Trump has told Congress there will be a new approach and new military action. Quote, some people are using the word war. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. Under the War Powers Act, the president can he can start these things. Any president can start these things, move troops in the immediate defense of the nation without some congressional declaration of war. We haven't really declared a war since, I guess, World War II. And so rather than wait for Congress to fiddle fart around so that you maintain strategic strength and tactical surprise, you don't tell Congress first. But there's a window that you have to at least notify Congress. That starts a calendar of days within which the president can move troops and deploy troops and take military action in defense of the country without the paralysis of analysis that you'd go through if you tried to go through Congress. That is actually in keeping with the War Powers Act. So in some ways, this notification to Congress could be that the old notification had expired, the number of days had expired, and to be able to keep the pressure up, Trump has to re-notify of what you could easily classify as a different action or a new action. Thus, under the guidelines of the War Powers Act, he'd still have a new clock. It would restart the clock on whatever it is that the Trump team feels like they need to do at this point with Iran. Again, straight speculation on my part. Here's all we know. Military action has continued. The naval blockade's been announced. It'll be put into effect within hours. And pretty much that just blockades the Iranians and protects the rest of the shipping lanes. And then, of course, we've got some big major address to the nation on Thursday night. And that's all we've got to go on right now. Everything else is just everybody's throwing darts at it to see if we can make sense of it. I'm sure with the announcement being all the way into Thursday, there'll be more focus on exactly what this is about. But I'll say this too. Trump is smart enough, unlike other presidents in our past, not to telegraph what we're going to do completely. I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to do that. But the details of any kind of surprise mission or escalation shouldn't be talked about to the country until they've happened. I mentioned Reagan earlier when he made that address to the country after we hit Libya. For those of you who were around in 1986, Libya had sponsored a terror attack, if all my memory serves me correctly, and they had been the chief sponsors behind the bombing of a discotheque, as it was known back then, in Germany, and killed some American service people. They were also tied to many other bombings and terror attacks around the Middle East. Some have even continued to tie them to the Pan Am crash over Lockerbie, Scotland. But Reagan executed a military mission. It was a bombing run of our fighter jets in a time of peace. Really shocked the country when he did it. but we sent them in there to hit military targets and to respond to Gaddafi in Libya. And he actually went after Gaddafi, almost killed him, and killed several members of his family. Here's what's to be known about that. As soon as that mission was over, Gaddafi went dark. He went silent. He almost gave up all his terror ambitions in the region. We got to him by being assertive in that moment and responding, unlike Jimmy Carter would have or other presidents. And so the night he made that announcement to the country, we heard about the bombing run, but the president came on after that, which is how we used to do it. If we had to, it was the same way when we went into Grenada and the Panama mission and other missions that were declared in my lifetime. You let the military speak first, and then you come on and address it. We had that same pattern with the Maduro raid in Venezuela. You're not going to give everything away in advance. Expect Congress to bitch, but this is in keeping with the War Powers Act, and sounds like we're going to have a pretty dramatic week when it comes to this situation with Iran and the military escalation. My hope, as I've said since the day all this stuff started, is that there will eventually be regime change in that country. I don't want us to occupy it. I think the people are quite capable in that country of running their own affairs and managing in a very, very free way this ancient civilization. But they've got to have the boot off their neck of the oppression of the IRCG and the brutality and the fierceness of it. This is why we have a Second Amendment in this country. It is exactly why we have a Second Amendment in this country. These people are helpless, they're disarmed, and they're vulnerable. Our founders didn't want us to be that way. So just know that they were wise because they had lived through this kind of oppression themselves 250 years ago, more than 250 years ago. And so here we are. Man, a lot of stuff going on today. We'll keep you up with it, and I'll dig up some more information on any of the stuff during the break as we roll along. All American Metals bringing you the show this hour. This is my next sponsor up. These are the folks that can help you get any kind of steel building, steel project done out of the ground and completed in a very honest, straightforward way. Best pricing in the industry. They're local folks, and that always gives you an edge. These are folks that have the full capability of producing anything you need when it comes to steel building components. They've been at it since the 1960s. Patriotic guys over in the Bessemer, Hueytown area. I kind of generalize it because they got factories all over, and they're going to produce the building for you. Once you've got a design, they're going to produce that building and get it to you on their trucks. That means they're going to bend the steel, make the framing, make all the components, package it all up, and they carry everything. The insulation packages, the windows and doors, all of this stuff is within their reach, and they've got control of that supply chain. I always tell you, they even bring it on their own trucks. And so you've got a fully integrated approach, and you're going to get a better price. You're going to get better pricing, quicker turnaround, and very personalized service from these incredibly experienced and capable steel people at All American. Y'all reach out to them and get some planning done. It's exciting to get that building built for all the things you may need it for. It's All American Metals, aa-metal.com. AA online. Check them out. Look at some of their projects. aa-metal.com. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all, 352. Let's talk about Floor Tech for a minute. When they came on the show, I always tell you the story about meeting Kevin. He got right to business. When I saw him, he was coming down the hill. I'd parked in their parking lot, and he walked right up to me, and he was just immediately we didn't have time for small talk. I loved it. He's so fired up about his product. He wanted to immediately take me over to their warehouse and show me the ingredients. What they do is they make concrete floor coatings. And these are these coatings that you've seen. Maybe you had an inferior version of this put on a house like I did. I did my own project years ago on a different house. Had a typical garage floor. It was getting kind of janky. Oils and stains and spills and everything that happens. Concrete is porous, so it's like a sponge, and it just holds everything. It's impossible to clean. So a lot of folks like to put this coating on not only to protect it, but to beautify everything, and it's easy to mop it after that once you've got these kind of coatings. The problem is they suck. They've always sucked. They peel, they yellow, they fade. They don't do what they're supposed to do, because over the years, what Kevin discovered, he and his team went into the lab, literally went into a lab to find out why these products are inferior, and they just decided they were adding solvents to the mix. Most of the companies that do this stuff were adding unnecessary chemicals to stretch the product out that was making the product not work. So what they did at Floor Tech was to make it correctly. Better ingredients means a better product. Means they so stand behind what they're doing with their product that they give you a lifetime warranty on your home that is transferable to the next owner if you were to sell it. That gives even extra value. It's not going to yellow. It's not going to fade. It's not going to peel. And you get to customize the exact color you want. It'll look exactly like you want it to look. Really cool process they have for that too. Y'all get Floor Tech over to your house. It's a local company that just has the best product in the country. TEK, floortechcoatings.com. FLOORTEK, floortechcoatings.com. Y'all let them come show off for you. They'll demonstrate the whole thing like they did for me, and you'll be impressed. All right, let's do a couple other little things that have popped up this afternoon, too. Back to Iran for just a second. Y'all remember Ahmadinejad? Once you learn how to say his name, we always remembered his name. That little sawed-off president of Iran years ago. Now, as you know, the mullahs are really the chief leaders of a country because it's a theocracy, but they institute a government where they've got a president running around doing their bidding. And Ahmadinejad was mouthy, man. He was around during the Bush administration, and I remember he gave a speech to the UN, and he came in, and when Bush had talked right before him, and when Bush left, he came in and said, "It smells like sulfur in here," referencing the devil himself, like the devil had just walked out, insulting the American president. He was a total a-hole. I was happy to see him get off the scene. Well, now he's under house arrest in Iran. And according to intelligence reports, they're holding him on suspicion that he's been in contact with the Mossad. They've got a leaker on the inside. Y'all, they're paranoid. They'll kill him. They will hang him in the public square, even though he was the leader of their own government. If they suspect this, they don't need a trial. They don't need anything. They need to make a public example to anybody else on the inside that would be working with folks as the pressure continues on that country. That's a fascinating twist in the Iranian situation, no doubt. Here's Steve over on line 2. Let's get him in real quick as we head toward the top of the hour. Steve, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Leland. He's the guy who was one of the main characters at the actual takeover of the embassy, right? When he was young?
Yeah, he was on the scene in '79 when they took our embassy. There are pictures of him. Yeah, he's part of the revolution. Now they've caught him potentially working with Mossad. How about that?
Oh, he might already be dead.
Yeah,
But
no doubt.
one thing I wanted to ask you about was the flood in '72. I was out there at the 50th anniversary, and they had a lot going on about it. And I talked to a lady who was about 55, I guess, at the time. And she remembered it as a young child, and she told me that she remembers her parents throwing them all in the car. And apparently the flood didn't make their house. It almost made their house.
Let me pause you right there, Steve. Where was the flood?
Right there in Rapid City, one of the biggest floods in American history.
Yeah, I just didn't get that part.
Hey, you about to go to break?
Yes. You got to go?
I'll call you back in a little while.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got a call. Steve was getting wound up. He just went right into something about a flood. I didn't know he was talking about Rapid City. Yeah, it's called Rapid City for a reason. And yeah, I don't know the details of this, but that hopefully he can call back and give me the details on it. AJ, every time I say Rapid City, all I can hear is a song by Prince in my head. You know, nasty song he had called. Well, I don't want to get into it. But
I mean, that's not the name of the song, but yeah.
No, it's not. So I roll up in here. I'm like, Rapid City, you and me. I'm like, I got to get that out of my head. I don't know why I do that. Yeah, man. Just to reset, we are in Rapid City today, doing the show from on the Indos because it is, what is the temperature right now? I think it's 102 already. Now, they say it's a dry heat. You ever hear that stupid phrase? That is a stupid phrase, by the way. Hot is hot. And the official high today was supposed to be around 103. And as you know, direct sun, it's only 101 right now. But it cooks my equipment, and the wind is just fierce today. It'd be impossible to be outside. So we're just doing an indoor show, having just arrived. But we do have some cool stuff to do here in South Dakota before we move on down the road as part of the America's 250 Road Show here on the station, brought to you by Appalachian Foothills RV Repair Center and RV Park up there in Winfield. We appreciate those guys being a title sponsor as we move along. Yes, we do have several fun stops in between some just regular news stops like we're doing today over the next 2 weeks, so we hope y'all will join along. Appreciate all the feedback, too, from our friend Laura over in Buffalo. The audience just loved her. So straightforward and plain-spoken. She got off into her area of expertise in this natural healing stuff, and the audience really wanted to know more. So just to let you know, I did do a post with her picture and a little bit of information on how you can track down her writings on the subject if you wanted to dig into that a little bit more. All that stuff she says is available on, I think, Amazon Kindle somewhere. So just look into it. Her full name is on those social media posts. Real quick, we'll go to the top of the hour, get the 1819 news, and reset some things and get back after it as we are, again, live on the road out west today in Rapid City, South Dakota. Back in a minute, Leland Live.